This week's episode is sponsored by Patreon. Check us out at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast for exclusives, outtakes, bloopers, special videos, and a lot more. This week on Patreon, we're going to have our exclusives and outtakes from December and January. Plus, check out next week's episode early at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast, where we go through the whole Cake Island arc thus far and discuss our thoughts. That's going to be with me, Joey, Alex, and Steve. So please check that out. Again, patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. On with the show. This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 507, for the week of Monday, February 19th, 2018. My name is Zach.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
And on today's... Wait, Alex?
Yeah, that's right.
Here? Yeah, it's been a really long time.
I know. I had to see about a girl, and and had to crash a wedding. And now I'm back a year later.
Cool. Okay, so that's all we missed. How's your life been, Alex?
It's good. Since in the last year, I've grown a beard.
It's a good beard. I saw it. Actually, it was on the video on Patreon. You could see, everyone could see it.
That's true. So I don't know. Not a whole lot has changed, but I'm a much better improviser, and yeah, time skip has been kind to me.
Good. It's true. This has been your time skip. So welcome back, Alex.
He's all buff now.
We also have very special guest translator for One Piece and Weekly Shonen Jump, Stephen Paul. How's it going, Stephen?
Howdy, it's going good.
Good. We also have Eisner Award nominated author of Merman, Joey Weiser's here. How's it going, Joey?
Good. Staying busy, working on comic books.
Fantastic. We also have animation director for Rick and Morty and Teen Titans Go, which has a movie coming out soon. We have Brian Newton with us. How's it going, Brian?
It's all right. Black Panther's awesome.
I love the honesty. Finally. And last but certainly not least, the customer support lead for Crunchyroll and Verve, we have Nate Ming on. How's it going, Nate?
What up?
Nice to have you back. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Thank you for having me. And I am in, holy crap, really good company.
Yeah. We have good group here, I think.
Yeah.
And we had a follow-up last week's Way Too Many People with this week's Way Too Many People episode. So don't worry. You're going to hear lots of opinions. Luckily, there's a lot of text to go through in today's manga chapter. It's chapter 895, Luffy the Pirate versus General Katakuri. I don't know if we'll have an anime episode. We'll find out if we have that recap coming up a little later, maybe with Sam. We'll see. We also have some piece together with, I think, the whole crew that's sitting here, or at least most of it. And, yeah, that'll be it. Before we get into the show, though, I want to remind people you could listen to outtakes, exclusives, and next week's episode early on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Alex, do you want to tell people a little bit about what they could look forward to on Patreon this week?
Yeah, you can look forward to video footage of my face eating gross One Piece food.
Well, gross is not accurate.
Well, I mean, like, sort of tasty.
But if we say gross, people might feel more inclined to tune in. Like, if it was good food. No one cares about watching people eat good food.
Let's just say it's less gross and more expired.
Extremely expired. We also have our One Pizza podcast episode, which
That's
is
a terrible.
Oh, is
pun.
that what you were referring to?
I mean, all of it, yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I mean, I think it'll speak for itself.
It will. It's around 40 minutes long. It's basically 20 minutes of BS, except it's all about pizza, so that'll be on Patreon as well. And
All about-
It's mostly about pizza.
next week on the normal feed, we're going to be going through all of Whole Cake Island. But for those,
even the chapters that haven't happened yet,
especially those, and that'll also be available a week early on Patreon at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. I think that's all going to be for the $10 tier and up. So please join in on there. So I think without further ado, let's do some manga. You guys ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
This is the manga recap for chapter 895, Luffy the Pirate versus General Katakuri. Steve, what's going on the front page here?
Well, it's the saga of the self-proclaimed Straw Hat Fleet, Volume 27, Haruden, new story arc. Buggy's deliveries, 5 big earners just quit, and in dramatic fashion as they embark on their giant Viking boat away from Buggy Central Headquarters, where we see a speech bubble of Buggy expressing much displeasure over this decision.
This is a scene from my favorite Studio Ghibli movie, Buggy's Delivery Service.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this just shows that you never know who's going to pop up in these stories. You know.
Well, I think with stories, like they were going in order of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet's kind of like roll order. So I can't wait to see the rest of these giants.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be Haruden's story, but it makes sense that Buggy's in it because of their connection. But like, I wasn't expecting to see him.
So before the arc, we saw, when Buggy got the news that the Giants were quitting, and he was like super pissed about it. And so this makes me wonder, like, did the Giants go back in person to like submit their, honorable resignation or whatever? Is that why we're seeing this kind of again
I can see
here?
them doing that.
Most
Giants
likely,
are very straightforward, so
They came to collect their things.
The way I saw it is like we're seeing Buggy's reaction previously, and now we're following, a kind of a concurrent story almost like that we're seeing the reaction that we would have seen at the end of that, and here go the Haruden's 5 ally people. But I don't even know.
Yeah, so this jumps back in time a little bit.
Maybe, I don't know.
Could be.
That's my guess. Any other thoughts on this front page?
Yeah, I always thought it was weird that Richie sounded like Phil Hartman.
I don't get that joke at all.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Do some very nice waves in this.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get started. Steve, start us off with this innocuous front page. First.
Oh, why? It's Snake Man Gear 4. I mean Gear 4, Snake Man. Here he is, Luffy, Gear 4th, Snake Man.
Maybe I should have chosen someone else to do this.
You want to describe it, buddy?
No, well, he's not all big and buff like the Bounce Man that we're familiar with. He's a lot leaner. He's still got the hockey arms and the kabuki sort of eyeshadow. His hair is a little more longer and wavier. More. Yeah, he still has like the steam from kind of just sort of doing like the Caesar clown accessory around him. But other than that, I don't.
The arm hockeys don't extend all the way to his chest now. It only goes to his bicep.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing too, he's not making complete fists. He's doing half fists, like the leopard stuff.
Yeah.
So he's doing with like
makes
the front
his
end
hand
of the knuckle instead of yeah.
Yeah, his hands look more like snake heads now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together there.
That's why you need artists.
Luckily, I got a few of them on today. Keep going, Steve.
I'm not necessarily sure if he's still bouncing. He's kind of in that bouncing pose, but I don't see any sound effects or anything hinting towards that. So
I doubt he's flying.
No, it's just falling or stretching with style. So Katakuri pants and he says, "Snake Man."
That's my favorite Mega Man 3 boss.
It's like you seem a bit different from before. As we get a close up of Luffy, who's also huffing and puffing and wheezing, he says, "That's right. Now I'm faster." As we get what looks to be the similar attack to what he did previously, where kind of like the fist kind of just protrudes in and then shoots out. But we get a big stretch, and with a zip, Katakuri dodges it fairly easily and kind of just. But he realized, despite dodging, he soon realizes something else.
Something's
That
else.
Katakuri face. Yeah, that Katakuri face at the bottom panel is the best.
That's the resting Katakuri face.
Yeah.
I do love the sound effect that I forget. Whatever they do in the anime is really cool with that Gear Fourth. I don't even know how to describe that sound effect. That you were just, I don't even know why I'm interjecting.
It's like rubber bending.
Yeah, something. I don't know. Joey.
Yeah, so on the next page here, right when Katakuri thought he was safe, suddenly a sucker punch comes out from the side, and he lets out an oof and kind of gathers himself, shocked, and we get these cool stacked panels on the right here of like Katakuri staring straight ahead and then suddenly looking to his side, and he's struck from the side unexpectedly. And on the next page, he's kind of like, flying back from that punch, maybe kind of, I would guess, like bracing himself a little bit. And he's saying like, why did it come from the side? And he rights himself back up, flipping a few times back. And Luffy stretches back for another punch. And Katakuri is trying to figure out what's going on. He was sure that he had dodged it, but Luffy leaps forward with his snake hand, reaching towards Katakuri.
Yeah,
I look at his back tattoo there.
I want to point out just how awesome Oda laid out the series of panels. It's basically Luffy doing a 1-2 punch. If you remember in the previous page, he attacks with his left hand, and then you see at the top of the second page, he's cocking back with his right. So in a way, it's also trying to like distract the audience to think like that first shot we see of Katakuri being struck from the left side was the right punch. But then that's why you have those two panels of Katakuri starting to try to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, wait a minute, that's not what I got hit with. And then he gets hit from his right side again. It's like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, which is why it's really
brilliantly laid out.
That first page is all framed looking straight on to Katakuri, so you can really get a sense of like which direction everything's coming from.
Yeah, with these pages specifically, we're actually taking Katakuri's perspective in this. Because we're confused by where these attacks are happening until like a little later.
Yeah, because we don't know what Snake Man is yet. Alex.
Right. So, he punches, he sends a punch flying towards Katakuri, but doesn't really go towards him. It goes zooms right past his face. Katakuri notices.
No, it's more so Katakuri dodges.
Oh, right, yeah, there's the zwip. There it is. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so Katakuri dodges that punch, but as we've seen before, Luffy's Python attack can just sort of ricochet however it wants.
It moves like the old screensaver, the pipes.
Yeah, that's an excellent.
What a great poll.
Waiting for that Photoshop.
So then we're treated.
Fights back with the flying toasters,
the flying donuts. So we get this really awesome panel of Luffy putting this attack into motion, and you can really see his fist look like a snake head there.
Yeah.
Got the fat head full of venom.
Katakuri's looking really nice too. I mean, even when he's getting his ass kicked, he's still kind of like, that guy's a smooth looking dude.
Yeah. So Katakuri realizes what's happening and manages to dodge Luffy's Python punch at the last second, but Luffy says, "After him, Python," and continues to use Pipe's screensaver to try and attack Katakuri, who is continuing to dodge it and telling Luffy that won't work. And he notices that even stretching, he says, even stretching, I'll accelerate. Gum Gum, Jet Culverin, and the attack connects with Katakuri, who blocks it with his haki in the nick of time. I think it's interesting. It's important to note that Luffy is explaining sort of the slight difference in this form that he has versus Bounce Man, wherein when he's in Bounce Man form, I think the big takeaway is that he's still hard even though he's rubbery, which I think is going to be the case here still. But that's the Gear 4 case. But he says even while stretching, it accelerates. So I don't think I guess that even when the Python turns, it doesn't lose any speed.
Right.
What I'm
Yeah,
guessing
yeah, you would kind of assume that it would be the other way around, that it's going to decelerate as the force of the punch, kind of dissipates with each successive turn, but instead it's speeding up as it goes, so it's even harder to dodge, is the implication.
We go yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that Luffy already had, with the previous Bounce Man, the flame / tribal tattoo thing, but now he's literally a dude that calls his arms Python, so his transformation is
He's got those 20-inch pythons, but 24, 30, 36, 40. God, the pythons keep getting bigger.
So on the next page, we see the reaction from that Jet Culverin. I guess there's kind of like a gear second, gear fourth combo kind of implication to the Snake Man, because Jet was the prefix to all the gear second attacks. Anyway, throws him into a wall, but Katakuri seems to quickly get up on the next panel, and we have another warm-up from Luffy. I like how they're not really announcing attacks every time. It's not that, it's shonen thing, although it's about to happen in around 3 seconds.
Yeah, despite Katakuri doing that on the next page.
So Katakuri dodges by whipping into his mochi form, turning into a donut, rolling forward, and throwing a buzz cut mochi, which, looks pretty damn painful. It turns into a spiky, elbowed...
It's a close lariat.
Yeah.
Lariat,
yeah. There you go.
It's just like my hair.
Yeah. Suddenly he turns into Steve.
Turns into Beavis and Butthead's teacher, Mr. Buzzcut.
It's interesting how absolutely ridiculous It's funny how ridiculous Katakuri looks for such a massive attack.
Oh my god, I love the donut form though, where he's rolling around as a donut. That's so good.
Where's that toy?
Yeah.
I love that the more serious he gets, the more donuts play a role in his techniques. It's like his secret love comes out the more serious he gets.
And he's sort of like sucking up the ground too, which is cool.
Yeah, because
he's a really good complementary ability to Luffy's, because Luffy, he stretches and snaps like a rubber band. He expands. With Katakuri's mochi powers, he stretches, changes form, and kind of whips, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is the best combination of awakening devil fruits and devil fruit usage I've seen. Just that one panel in the top right of the second page, just how the floor is almost incidentally kind of being rolled in with him. I like that. That's a cool detail.
Yeah.
Brian.
Okay, so Luffy's trapped or caught onto the mochi lariat, and then Katakuri decides spinning him around like a helicopter above his head, and Luffy is and the final page of this is where Katakuri raises Luffy high above his head, stretching his arm with them. Luffy appears to be stuck to him, like it's sticky. Even though you can't really see if he's also impaled on spikes, but I wouldn't be surprised if spikes didn't catch him as well.
That's mochi, and mochi is notoriously sticky also.
And spiky.
Yeah, that's true. And spiky.
People die every year eating mochi.
Yeah,
because they have
Get
spikes.
The wrong cactus mochi.
And then and so we have this really awesome set of small panels that lead downward, which also make you feel the implications of what's coming, of Katakuri bringing his arm down with Luffy on top of it, and that one tiny little panel of how Katakuri looks incredibly fierce. Cut to the next page, and then a giant smash crack as he splits the mirror world in not in half, but he definitely puts a giant impact that sends pieces flying everywhere. And then follow that by another panel of Katakuri looking like an absolute fucking beast right now.
This looks like it looks like it's out of a different manga. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. I think the last time we've seen a character kind of look this scary, it was Hody Jones, and I hate to make that comparison to Katakuri to Hody Jones, but
you're right.
It's a very wide eyes and dark features, and then we also see the aftermath of the crater that he caused, sending Luffy, I guess, at the bottom of. And we hear Gru, which I assume is just the dust settling.
Yeah. Nate?
I don't even know. That might be his stomach rumbling, his tummy rumbling.
It could be both. Go ahead, Nate.
Well, we see that on this next page. So in the rubble, it's starting to clear, like the smoke is clearing. We see Luffy, and he's holding his head in pain, and he's just coughing and huffing and puffing. He goes, "It hurts. Ah, the pain. I'm so hungry." Because Luffy needs his meat. I mean, after this much fighting, he needs a recharge, but he can't stop now. So he bursts out of the hole in the ground, and he's looking positively feral at this point.
That drawing is insane.
he lunges at Katakuri, who's like, "What are you saying?" And so they just start exchanging punches. Luffy's throwing all these snapping, the snake punches, and Katakuri is blocking them. And Luffy, he doesn't have an inner monologue anymore. He's going, "Everything I'm thinking, it feels much better that way. I'm going to knock you out, Katakuri." And they just...
Mama said knock you out.
Yeah, pretty much. So he lands a punch. Katakuri lands a punch. Their heads are snapping back. It's just back and forth. Nobody has the upper hand. There's a lot of screaming. There's fists meeting each other. And the second page in this spread ends with a really awesome exchange showing Luffy doing this crazy, angled snake punch that lands clean on Katakuri, while Katakuri also gets a shot off, and they're both blown away from each other. It's just an awesome, high-speed exchange done with really quick panels.
There are so many things on this page. Katakuri's using his explosive hand technique again here, it seems like, because you could see his arm coming off. The dialogue between Katakuri and Luffy are super interesting here because it's a chicken and the egg thing as to which person. I think they both are seeing into the future and responding to the other.
Yeah, I was very confused by that bottom panel. Everything I'm making, it feels much better.
I interpret this as okay, so Luffy, we know that Oda has this policy where you never see Luffy's thought process. In fact, that flashback scene from a chapter or two ago with Rayleigh, that's kind of the closest you ever get to actually seeing into Luffy's mind to kind of explain where he is mentally. And I feel like this is kind of Oda just saying yeah, Luffy can do all of this, see into the future, or try to hide his thoughts sort of thing, but that's not really what that's not who he is. That's not what he is best at. He's best when he's expressing himself directly and not, holding things back or trying to hide them or whatever. And so I feel like this is kind of him, just kind of letting it all out and freeing his mind a little bit, maybe from.
That's definitely more of a Zoro thing. Zoro is the type who would keep it all inside and release when necessary. But Luffy, he wears it all in his sleeves and then hits you with his fists. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that last panel of the page we just went through, it's really, really well played out. Not only the kinetic action that was happening right above this, but then that last panel, since there's so much negative space.
Yeah, really solid
fighters. Yeah, it's the nice breath of you can feel the pacing of just boom, and it rests. And also I want to point out the fact that Katakuri's rocket punch hits Luffy squarely, and then Luffy's also flying back, but also throwing that last Coven punch that both doesn't intersect the negative space, it goes around it, but then you can still see the same impact because Luffy's striking from left to right, and the fist is striking from left to right as well. He does the same thing almost every time there's a big Coven page. He did the same thing during his fight with Doflamingo, and I love the way Oda does that, so you never lose the line of action.
Yeah.
Steven, there's a lot more fighting left to go.
Oh boy. Okay, so now we see the rebound of that last pair of hits, and Katakuri kind of bounces back onto his feet while Luffy crashes, kind of on his back, as he has often done in this fight, and he's coughing and swearing, and then there's a twing, a sound of I don't know, inspiration or something, and Katakuri kind of he looks up with surprise and holds out his leg to the side to kick directly against another culverin punch coming in from the side. And then Luffy launches himself into the air. He's about to drop 81 on Katakuri here with a black mamba, and he's like, he's doing the kind of God, what was it, the not the organ gun, but he's throwing a whole bunch of gear for punches here.
He's basically doing a missile massacre.
Yeah, he's doing some Macross missile firing here, and Katakuri is basically just kind of bracing himself, holding up the arms to block this hail of blows. And on the next side of the page, we get this really cool sort of like in panel sequence where you see Katakuri several times, and it's almost like he's kind of dancing or something, like he's dodging all of these punches that you can see with the kind of spiraling angles, and he's weaving his way through with his kick. That you can't even see his foot because it's just a blur. And then finally the impact, and you see it's like, I guess it's probably his knee just hits the spike hits Luffy square in the middle of the face. You get a bit of a comical kind of slapstick there.
Popeye look.
Yeah, it's just folding his face in around that one point, and just blasts him away. Katakuri looks resolute, like he knows he got a good one in there, and then he's doing his roll, his donut roll again, pursuing Luffy. And this is the mistake. He's doing the same move again, so Luffy recognizes it, and Katakuri is kind of he's taunting him a little bit. This is the end. I'll ease your pain, and Luffy refuses, and he prepares his gum attack, and then we turn the page, and it's just a repeat of the buzz cut. Mochi is coming in this huge panel. Luffy is unleashing a King Cobra, which looks kind of like the same as what we've seen so far. So I feel like we haven't seen what the King Cobra actually means, because then we just get the both of them roaring with their ferocity. Feels definitely like this is the final blow between them. But then there's just an explosion of dust from a distance. We don't get to see what happens, what the conclusion of this fight is, because One Piece will be off next week.
The King Cobra, maybe his knuckles are spread apart a little bit more.
And then One Piece will be off next week.
No, they're yelling because One Piece will be off next week.
There we go.
You read left to right in this.
No, they'd be yelling "F you, Oda." So.
You lazy bastard.
Just about the King Cobra, quick. Is it? Maybe it's in the foreground, but is it larger than?
That's foreshortening, Zach.
No, I know, but
that's hard to tell right now.
It's hard to tell whether it's foreshortening or maybe it's also both. Maybe it's also larger because it is a King Cobra.
It could be getting larger as it stretches, and just weird. But I would say it's just foreshortening. It seems that way.
It's such a good-looking 2-page spread, though.
I know. Yeah.
It's so pretty to look at.
It's very good.
Yeah, and
it's a great after so many pages of cramming in tiny panels to expand out to this. It looks so good.
Yeah,
where he just
go ahead.
Doesn't color in the background. There's plenty of stuff on the ground in the foreground, but I think people underestimate using just empty space and negative space sometimes. It can be lazy, but when you use it to set the tone, it could really work, and it really works right here. Because all you're focusing on is the impact of these two shots right here that they're about to unleash.
Yeah,
most important.
It's really
and it helps. It helps too because there's such the checkerboard pattern. There's such a busy background, so you really notice it when that's not there. So it works really well in comparison.
Even the floor kind of buckling under them really gives it that kinetic energy of what's happening here. I'm going to start with the non-artists, and then I'll move on to the artists. Nate, what were your thoughts on this week's chapter?
Really, really dynamic. It's awesome to see action that is handled this well, and seeing the characters get to a final battle or a final clash is something that tends to get stretched out a lot in Weekly Shonen manga, but by compressing, like, this has been kind of a long fight, but it hasn't been a super long fight. It doesn't feel like it's overstayed its welcome. And by getting this much action, this many exchanges, and this much character growth into this chapter, and then giving us this cliffhanger ending, you kind of swing back around. You're feeling like, okay, this is starting to run a little long, and then it ends here, or at least it feels like it ends here. So that was good. That was satisfying.
Stephen.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a ton that I can really say about this chapter. Like, it's very singular. It's just combat. Great art. Lots of really dynamic paneling and I guess panel construction, stuff like that. I guess I'm realizing now that we've seen Bounce Man, and there was Tank Man, and now we've seen Snake Man, that it feels almost like this is like the differences between these Gear 4 forms are almost like an even slightly more subtle version of like Chopper's transformations, where like I don't know. I guess I would say that the like reveal of Snake Man wasn't like profoundly crazy or anything. It was just like, okay, so this is like a slightly modified version of what we've seen before, and he utilizes his powers in a slightly different way, but it's nowhere near as like mind blowing as when you first see a new gear for the first time and it's something completely different. But that said, it was I don't know. I think it's pretty neat. I like that he's kind of getting a slightly more, I guess, normalized version. It's not quite as stylized as when we first saw Gear 4. I think that was maybe a little bit divisive when people first saw it, because it was very like kabuki styled, and which is kind of a very foreign look for, I think, most people in the West. And so I think a lot of people saw it as being very goofy. And this one is a little bit more, I guess, normally proportioned and stuff. But yeah, other than that, like, it's a very, very, very solid action chapter. And I do agree that I think this is definitely telegraphed as like this is the conclusion of the fight. But I do wonder what King like if we're gonna see that Luffy did something with this King Cobra, it kind of makes me wonder, like, is he gonna like stretch out his hand, or like sort of expand his hand and just sort of like grab over Katakuri's head and like slam him or something like that, like like a Cobra head sort of thing, or what? Because I feel like it's got to be something neat, something different than just the punches that we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I just add to the transformation aspect. It kind of reminds me of Boo in Dragon Ball, in that like what I think we talked about this before. Toriyama tends to draw bigger transformations smaller, and that's kind of what this felt like. It kind of felt like the Kid Boo version of Gear 4 for Luffy. That they all of Boo's transformations kind of look similar. There's like, I mean, I guess all of the transformations in Dragon Ball usually look similar, except for maybe Frieza and Cell. Okay, there's a few exceptions. Anyway, not to get too much off a tangent, let's go into the artist portion of our recap. Joey, let's start with you.
Yeah, this is a great chapter to look at, for sure. There's a lot of really awesome art. It like kind of so it gets a lot into sort of like Scribble Town. There's a lot of like scribbling details and stuff, but like that just makes it feel more kinetic and like really convey the idea that everyone's kind of like messed up and really beat up pretty badly and stuff. But yeah, it was a really fun chapter to read. I think my favorite thing, just from like a kind of gut reaction, is actually Katakuri in the like donut form rolling around it. I just laughed so hard.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
And that with the like the fact that he's got little like bits kind of coming off, and he's got the like flame pattern and stuff, kind of reminds me of a yokai called a Wanyudo. That's this like wheel that's on fire with a face in it and stuff. So it kind of made me think of that, which is cool. As far as like Snake Man's look, like it's fine. Yeah, it's a kind of like sleeker version. The hair is kind of weird to me. I can't help but like make me think of like Super Saiyan, but like it gives Luffy a strange kind of frightening look, which I think is cool. And I love that panel of Katakuri looking like a beast that we were talking about. That's a standout for sure. But yeah, I don't really have much else to say besides that it was really fun to look at. Oda's really like taking advantage of the fact that he has these two very malleable characters that he can bend and stretch, and that panel of like Luffy getting kicked in the face and bending inwards and stuff is like both like funny and painful and dynamic. It's really cool.
Brian, I know you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I usually like One Piece will tell action in a way where it's never needed to form a certain opinion about like which way the audience needs to read this. Now, that's not always the case, but with this one, every single page, every single panel led directly into where the characters related to, and how those actions inform like whether Luffy throws a punch for his right and it comes from his left, and Katakuri's like watching his left and his right, and how like they keep kind of like are on the same side of the ring, the action ring, I would say. And like that's not like super important for comics to do, because the thing when you're reading the comic, you're almost supposed to read it over and over again. It's like you read it and you kind of interpret it and you can sit with an image for a while, as opposed to what in my field, someone sees something on screen and it's only on screen for a minute or even a few seconds before you have to move on. So the line of action is critical. You don't want to lose your audience. And I felt like just I think one of the reasons why this particular chapter reads so quickly, it's because the line of action is so well and so consistent that you never have to really sit down and second guess what you just saw, even as confusing as like Katakuri was in Colvin, and like the fist punching around is conceptually. It's something that you can just pick up and goes like, oh, I see exactly what's going on here. I'm not confused, and as an audience member, it just makes the action in your head feel that much clearer and more consistent. And Joey would know better than I would, because he's the award-winning The Merman author. But so that's all I really have to say about this specific thing, because everyone else already said all the necessary stuff. And for anyone who thought Gear 4 was inherently like weird or goofy, it's One Piece, and that's the point.
Yeah.
So
it's great for things to be weird and goofy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Alex.
Great segue. I wanted to bring up the fact that I love how once things start getting serious for Katakuri, he just gets goofier, which is very classic One Piece to me. His donut form, my God, so good. I wanted to ask Steven actually about Buzzcut Mochi. What is that in Japanese?
So in Japanese, it is Zangiri Mochi, and he spells it with he spells it with kanji that's like cut, slice and cut, or something like that. And giri is also like the name of a buzz cut. So like if you walked in and you said, "Just fuck me up, fam," they give you the buzz cut. That's what that would be. And it's kind of odd because like even if you look at it as a slice, like as a even if I translated it more literally as like a cut, slice, mochi or something like that, it doesn't necessarily add up to what you see, the way it looks, because it looks more like like he's pounding him with a mace almost, which is kind of was kind of odd. But I kind of went with the kind of the term that he was borrowing from, or that he was nodding towards. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just wanted to know. I loved looking at this chapter. I think the general consensus is that it's a very pretty looking chapter, and it's also been a while since we've had straight up action. Probably not since Sanji versus Luffy, and there was a whole lot of dialogue in that, if I remember correctly. So it's almost like Oda's making up for for not having drawn a fight in so long. But
Yeah,
having
he
this
does
chapter,
He does this periodically.
yeah, by having this chapter be nothing but action, which I think is, it's really nice to finally get to the meat of the Katakuri versus Luffy fight, and I really I like Snake Man. I really like when there is a condensed form of a larger form, kind of like when Lucci uses his what do you call it, life return to become a much more lithe leopard man. The hair is interesting. The hair reminds me less of Super Saiyan and more of the period art that Oda occasionally does for color spreads.
Mm-hmm.
Tends to give Luffy this longer
probably
hair.
what he's calling on, but like it's hard in a Shonen Jump comic where there's transformations to not immediately, associate it with that.
Yeah, I'll agree. Come to think of it, actually, when he has regular Gear 4, his hair is a little bit. It's still up, but it's a little spikier, right? Like it's not as wavy. Looks almost like a flame hair.
Yeah, it's kind of blown back, like slicked back, kind of, but wild.
Yeah, it's like a Vidal Sassoon ad.
And it just gets longer. So his eyebrows disappear and his hair gets longer. Anyway, I'll stop talking about Dragon Ball.
Yeah. The name Snake Man, I like the fact that it's his fist. I didn't even think about that. I kept thinking to myself, oh, he's gonna get long like a snake. That's gonna be weird. But then I didn't even think about how Tank Man was just basically his normal bounce man, but larger and in charger. I guess the end of this bothered me a little bit because normally we're so used to seeing the final blow, but I think that it's almost on purpose. I'm of the belief that in the next chapter or the next time we see any inkling of this fight or the results, we'll be on Cacao Island, and the Charlotte family is going to get ready to get Luffy once he comes out of that mirror. But I think it'll be Katakuri's unconscious body that will be taking the brunt of their forces. That's my hypothesis.
That would be interesting. Yeah, Steve, thoughts?
Well, I'll keep mine brief because honestly, I think my pins are brief. Not in a bad way. This is just a fight chapter. There's nothing much to talk. I have no theories for what's going to happen in the story. Any theories have already been discussed. It was just a very pretty, well laid out fight chapter. I think the way the eye moves from panel to panel, the way Oda intended, really works in terms of the body language, and like the Luffy's Python attack is a really great device in terms of leading the eye. I said for Shonen Jump pages for page 79, what's really great is when you're reading that panel, because you're reading it right to left. On that second row, it's Luffy's Yao, and then that leads down to Luffy getting hit by Katakuri's Android 16 exploding punch. But then your eye starts following Luffy's arm as it comes up into like a triangle, and then back punching Katakuri across the face. It's some really cool stuff. I think the other page I really liked was 81. I think this was one of Steven's pages. This was Katakuri just dodging all of these Python attacks. It was really awesome. This was a really fun chapter to look at. And yeah, if Oda does this cutaway thing where we don't know who the clear victor is until whoever jumps out of a mirror, that'd be cool. That'd be something a little different. But that's all I really have to add.
I just, on top of that, I want to go back. We've talked about it a lot, but I do want to highlight how kind of like expertly composed that panel of Luffy and Katakuri punching each other with the triangle and stuff is.
Yeah.
Like the triangle is framing Katakuri, and then the fist is almost framed by the sound effects, like by the exclamation points, like, and the fact that like the tip of the triangle goes past one of the other sound effects, and it all is just like composed so well. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look. You guys have said everything I want to say. This was a really fun, fast-paced. The only word I could really think for this chapter is kinetic. I mean, that's what it was from start to finish.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
What it was also that, yeah, sure. A few things the thing is, like, Steve was like saying, oh, on page this and page that. Like almost every single panel, I feel like I would frame. I mean, at least with people in it. I would.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like, god damn, that Katakuri one on page 77 looks like it's out of a completely different series. I don't know where or what, but it's unbelievable. It didn't feel like reading a typical One Piece chapter, and I think
That's the one that stuck with me too. It's like, okay, Katakuri lands this huge hit, and he's like kind of rising up and looking just him, and then Luffy later on, like Luffy is kind of feral and
he looks like a
ridiculous,
monster.
but yeah, Katakuri is very bestial.
yeah, it's like nothing I have seen, and I know that's what Oda's trying to do in every chapter is give you something you've never seen before. And it's great when he delivers, and damn does he deliver in this chapter.
That's probably just the mood Oda is filling in. I mean, he's doing this chapter and really feeling himself. He's like, yeah, I'm a monster right now.
I think Katakuri is in some respect. Katakuri and Luffy have been kind of ways for Oda to express things that we've talked about this a few chapters back. Express things to the reader about himself. I feel. Yeah, I can't. You guys have said everything about Snake Man, except that I just want to add I love the names of just about all the new techniques. I think.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, Black Mamba is fantastic, and King Cobra, and I mean it's a fun spin on the naming conventions we've had.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a Gum Gum Ladysmith Black Mambazo.
I was hoping.
I was gonna make a reference to that. Is it the Wu-Tang song that's in Kill Bill? That's like Black Mamba.
Well, isn't that her code name in Kill Bill?
Yeah, Black Mamba.
They're
yeah,
all named
yeah.
after snakes. So.
I should have been called Black Mamba.
I assumed. I know Oda's a big Tarantino fan, so I would not be surprised if that was in some way related. Because he said the one person he wants to meet, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I hope he doesn't become disappointed.
Well, yeah.
The thing is, violence is everywhere, Oda-san. Violence is everywhere.
We don't have to go through that, but I have to say this was a really good climax to this fight. I hope.
I don't use that term. I feel like we've been using that term way too loosely for the last 2 months.
I have to assume this is the conclusion, at least of the brunt of the action here. But look, who the hell knows? I think that's gonna do it for probably a record time manga recap here. Why don't we go into the next segment?
Let's do it.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories. It's time to start with... Steve, do you want to try our very first segment?
Oh, our favorite segment in the whole wide world.
Yes.
Disputes.
That was an interesting spin on Ed's usual take. Ed, we miss you.
Apple Podcast.
So let's start with the only one we have on Discord, I think, this week is from Mr. Butabara, who said, with Beige being reintroduced in the anime, I was reminded of that UFO thing that took Beige. Any theories on what that was? And do you think that it will be explained? Do you think that we were meant to just accept that as some sort of weird, he's like Grand Line, I'm going to add New World phenomenon, like the Lightning Island, and just move on? Thanks.
Yeah, move on.
I feel like it has to be something. I don't know.
I hope it gets explained, at least a little bit.
I think it was just a floating island. It was not quite a sky island. It was like an air island.
It had its own, like it appeared to have its own like gravitational force.
I don't know.
It was Big Mom.
Don't they get like punched?
Your mama's so big.
Your mom is so big that she's a floating island that steals.
No,
people.
it's your mom is so big she has her own gravitational pull.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know that joke.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Jesus Christ. That's it for Discord, unless anyone has anything else they want to add. First email comes from Martin, who said, after the Whole Cake Island arc concludes, which character introduced from it would you want a cover story from? Hard mode, no Morgans, meaning he's not letting you choose Morgans, even though that is who I would totally choose.
That's fine.
Nate, do you have any in mind?
I'm gonna be totally basic here, and I would love to see more Katakuri, honestly. Either that or his super bitchy sister.
Flampe.
Movie?
Yes.
Oh, Flampe.
The Valley Girl cover story.
Yeah.
Steve, you could do the whole thing.
I'll go with the Germa 6'6".
Germa?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, Germa would be good.
Any other thoughts? There's
The
a
big,
lot of people.
tree
I
guy.
think you guys are forgetting that Germa,
King Bounce.
Sans, Reiju are all dicks.
Yeah, but who cares? We always follow the villains.
Yeah, Steve, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
No, but they're not even like admirable villains. They're dicks.
Dude, we followed the CP9 cover story, and that was like super boring.
But no, it's not. Kaku made a slide,
Ooh,
and they went bowling.
yeah, so exciting.
Steve,
That was last.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has run for, I think, 13 seasons now. People love watching really terrible people.
No, but like they're terrible people in like an entertaining way.
They're near fast.
Terrible.
They're near fascist. Let's keep it honest.
Like, oh, do you guys remember the fond memories of when Niji beat up their servant woman?
It was super good. Yeah,
Yeah. All the laughs we shared.
I remember laughing to the bank came home. That's not how it goes.
Banks don't come to you.
I wish they did.
It's just going to turn into a Yakov Smirnoff joke. Next one is from Boy Scout. The Boy Scout in the Hood.
Yeah. Sorry.
What?
Come on, guys.
I think like Nate and Brian answered that question, and Zach's like, "Oh, that's good enough. That's everybody."
Oh, did you want? Was there more? You guys? Oh yeah, I thought everyone did. Maybe not. Steven, do you have
I
someone in
yelled
mind?
King Baum into the void, but you guys were moving on to something else.
Steven, do you have
What's the question?
who you would want a cover story about from Whole Cake Island?
Just give me more Big Mom.
Okay.
Always more Big Mom.
I'll tell you one I don't want. Parasparrow. I would rather never see him again. I don't like him. Next one, Boy Scout said.
Oh, German's cool.
Yeah.
I would just like to throw Pound in there.
Next question.
Yeah.
Hey,
He deserves an
podcast.
A plot.
I don't believe it.
Pound's quote unquote dead.
He's not.
Hey, podcast people. Got some One Piece theories for Gecko Moria, he said. I think he will use Whitebeard's body as a zombie in Wano, or wherever we fight Kaido. The body will then regain some thought like Sindri's body did. And the other thing I want your opinion on is if a person that does not have a shadow can go in the mirror world. P.S. This... Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to end it there. I mean...
Well, yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't know what the shadow thing has to do with mirror world. That's
No,
like
can't
related.
you not see yourself in the mirror if you're like a vampire or don't have a shadow?
Oh yeah, no, he's right.
But-
Yeah, because Brooke didn't have a reflection.
Yeah.
Well, I would think that would determine if she can make a copy of you. But like when she pulls people in the mirror world, she just grabs their body and pulls them in.
Yeah, do you need to be able to see your reflection to be brought into the mirror world?
I wouldn't think so. It's just no. She literally comes from the mirror and grabs you.
We're getting
It's
into
like
real minutia here.
But also, Whitebeard's body's buried with Ace, so
That feels kind of
more
like sacred ground for Oda to. I feel like he wouldn't go there.
Any other
Yeah.
thoughts?
I mean, it's a cool idea, but I don't think it will happen.
Yeah, it is neat. It's definitely a neat idea, but it doesn't sound like a One Piece thing.
All right, I think that's gonna do it. We didn't have a lot of emails this week. Steven, do you want to get us onto Reddit?
All right, we'll start with Endangered Big Cats, who has a simple question. What makes a great One Piece fight where others aren't?
That's a good question.
The art.
Yeah.
I would also say kind of the I don't know, the scale of the opponents.
How do you mean?
Oh, let's say Pika, for example. The Pika Zoro moment. That was pretty epic. And
I
then,
think-
sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Ryoma and Zoro was also a really good fight back at Thriller Bark. For
like
much the same
this-
reason why this fight was good.
Well, I think bringing scale up is really good because it's not necessarily like One Piece is not about like bigger and bigger and bigger, right? There are moments where we get something big and dramatic and climactic, right? But with good One Piece fights, sometimes it shrinks the scale down. Like we had the Paramount War and we had this huge, tons of powers, all kinds of insanity, right? And then after that, the action that we got was Luffy punching rhinos in the forest, and it was still just as dynamic, and it maintained a rhythm, you know?
Yeah, and
And,
like scale, I don't necessarily mean size or like how many opponents are there. Like, one of my favorite fights in the series is Chu versus Usopp. It's like,
okay, yeah.
you're just like, how's Usopp gonna win? There's like nothing can do, and he's just pulling out all these tricks, and he like overcomes.
Yeah.
That leads to what I was thinking, which is like this idea that it's impossible for our hero to win. I think that makes things feel so much better. So like the Katakuri fight definitely has that. That's what I think about a lot of times with like the crocodile fight. And I think that that's kind of what was lacking for a lot of people with like Fishman Island or something, is it kind of seemed too easy, you know. But feeling like someone is like, not only is a character strong, like a villain strong, but like it just doesn't seem conceivable that Luffy or whoever could even beat them. But then they managed to pull it out.
And I think with Fishman Island, that was intentional. That was an intentional reversal, because imagine if the Straw Hats got the Fishman Island when they were still prior to the time skip. It would have been like, oh my god,
I wasn't meaning to get into that. Like, I think that that's like fine for story reasons and stuff, but I think that that's why people see that and point that out as an area where they didn't like the fights. You know, they were disappointed by the fights.
Okay.
I think in addition to that, I think like the theming of the fights, like the combination of the combatants and like how meaningful it is for either of them, because you know there are plenty of fights that are, you know, there to kind of to fill out the story, to, you know, to give characters stuff to do that you know can that he can say like, this is important to the plot because I invented this reason or whatever, and sometimes it's more transparent when it's like, okay, this is just there to fill some space, to give them something to do. But sometimes you do get, you know, like with you know, Usopp and Chu, there's a good example of like something where it's really kind of telling you something about Usopp, and you know, it's your first really good look, I think, at him kind of rationalize, you know, figuring out what it is that he needs to do to make himself useful to the crew and stuff like that. And that's usually, I think, what makes them more powerful, because he can come up with like crazy, you know, attack powers and visual stunts and things to do for just about any fight. But I think the ones that are really good have, you know, kind of something that speaks to you as a reader, in addition to that.
I don't even remember what the original question was.
What's a great fight? What makes a great One Piece fight?
The ingenuity. It's something that's more than just brawn versus brawn, you know? I think that's why any Usopp fight is generally my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's very cerebral. He uses his tactics more than his strength.
Even like Zoro's fights, it's always about him learning something. And I mainly think of his fight with Mr. One. That was him. You know, there was that whole, you know, integrating a flashback in there and learning new techniques, and of course, you know, learning how to cut steel. But yeah, I think Usopp versus Chu is a pretty damn good example.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move to Optfire, who says, while it's not the most likely outcome, I could see this fight ending in a draw given this chapter. Do you think it would be poor storytelling to have Luffy move on to Wano without properly beating Katakuri, or does it make the story more interesting because Luffy's strength progression seems more realistic?
I'd be fine with a draw. Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, actually, it'd be something different.
Yeah, that's true.
The only problem with a draw is that the kind of King of the Pirates thing assumes that you could get past or beat all the foes that you fight.
Does it though? I mean,
I don't
it's
know.
just-
I don't know.
So
That's
you could still come back and fight him later, and maybe like at this point, Luffy and Katakuri are like equal, right? But maybe
yeah, but
later
also-
on in the story,
Also, keep in mind that like Katakuri isn't the captain.
yes,
Yeah, that's important. Also, it could be a virtual draw, which I think we could already say that this fight has been, much like Lucci and Luffy.
yeah.
There are other times where Luffy overcomes something and then just demolishes the other guy. Like Crocodile, I feel like even though he lost 3 times prior, Luffy soundly beat Crocodile. Luffy versus Lucci was really on, that he had to like. It took every single ounce of strength to do what he did, and I feel like it's more like that here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Zach. It's probably going to be like Luffy's going to be down, but he's not going to be passed out. But he probably won't be incapacitated for the rest of the arc.
I'm definitely of the mind that I think it would be disappointing if Luffy doesn't win, specifically because this is not the big bad. He's not fighting Big Mom, and it's like. Yeah, all of the stuff about him like needing to master this new stage of development, and I feel like that's the entire purpose of this fight. And while I definitely understand the that people, a lot of people are kind of feeling sentimental about Katakuri, that he's this cool. He's this cool fighter. It's a very awesome and kinetic fight, and he's not a dick. He's like a pretty level-headed guy who is not, it doesn't write him to be a hateable villain.
Except when he killed those chefs, or at least messed them up.
Yeah, but he's not like taunting Luffy and going like, "Oh, you're weak because you love your friends." It's not one of those kind of characters where you're supposed to hate him clearly. And so I feel I understand why people want a more kind of clean outcome where it's not as much about like just dominating this guy because there is a part of you that kind of likes him. But I do feel like the best thing for the story for this circumstance would be for Luffy to win. So let's see. We'll go to Bortolomeo, who says, "I just realized who Flampe reminds me of. She's very similar to Violet Beauregard from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. They're both bratty, obsessed with perfectionism, and always chewing a piece of gum. Oh, and they both inflate too."
Yeah, I thought that was the point of that character. Even her hairstyle's the same.
I was going to say I could have sworn we joked about this already, but
Yeah, you did.
yeah.
So let's see if they turn her violet in the anime.
If she isn't purple or violet, I'm going to be disappointed.
She's gonna have like an orange color scheme.
Yeah,
So-
all else fails.
Would that make Prospero Willy Wonka? Do you think Big Mom employs Tontadas as Oompa Loompas and makes them do musical numbers?
I always thought that
I don't pay you to sing.
I always thought that he resembled Wonka.
Yeah, we called that out when he first showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he looks like the Chitty Chitty Bang Bang guy. That was the other thing that.
The child. Child
Snatcher
Snatcher.
or whatever it is. Yeah.
Child
So
snatcher.
who's Charlie? Is it like Chopper in the Chocolate Factory? Is that what's going on?
Could be.
Luffy.
Yeah.
Luffy.
Charlotte and the Chocolate Factory.
Luffy did everything you asked him, Perospero. No, he ate all those biscuits in the
You
seducing
lose.
woods.
Good day, sir. All right. Yaman Axel says, after reading through the last chapter several dozen times, I think I can say with great confidence that this is the best Luffy fight in the series thus far. Why? Because it is the perfect combination of every great Luffy fight that has preceded it. It has our hero struggling to overcome a seemingly invincible ability, just like in his fight with Crocodile. It has comedic moments that don't detract from the action, like in the Foxy fight. It forces Luffy to think outside the box, such as he did against Eneru, and it ultimately degenerates into an epic slugfest, reminding me of the battle against Lucci. There's even a clash of conquerors hockey, like in the fight against Don Chinjiao. Last but not least, it introduced us to a version of Gear 4th, like in the fights against Doflamingo and Cracker, and it looks set to end with one last epic clash. While I personally hope the fight will be a tie, I honestly would be satisfied no matter who wins. That's not something I have been able to say about any other Luffy fight.
I was just gonna say, Oh, and it also has Gear 4th Luffy, which is the only thing I can remember from the fight with Doflamingo.
That's sad.
You know what? I can't help but agree. I'm not gonna flat out say it's the best one yet, but it's definitely one of the best ones. I think the crocodile one just had such a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, and it didn't go on for this long.
It had a great score too. I mean, like,
Yes.
I don't know how this is gonna look in the anime. But
They better not mess this up. I'm gonna be sorely disappointed.
I don't know. It's always. I mean, so they've been doing a great job with some scenes in the anime recently, but there's also I don't know, a difference between pacing and what actually happens. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got some very good evidence for it. I think the only thing missing for me is that it's like I just don't have the personal animus or like I don't care as much about Katakuri as I do about a lot of the other villains. Like I think he's a cool character, but I guess I'm not as on the wagon as a lot of people are. I think with Katakuri.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of like something about the way that I relate to Oda's like sort of passive, not as outlandish characters, as cool guys
like Lucci.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's part of the reason why, as much as the Lucci fight is like really, really great and entertaining and like just a really classic Luffy fight, and a lot of people regard that one as the best. I don't really enjoy it as much because I don't find Lucci that compelling as a villain.
No, it's interesting. Both Katakuri and Rob Lucci are kind of like the servants to the main villain.
That's part of it. That's part of it. Yeah, I think that's kind of
they're just doing a job.
Yeah, and it's not as satisfying to me because like Crocodile is the end all be all of that arc.
Right,
like he's the final boss, and seeing him get taken out is incredibly satisfying. And I think that the fights, all three fights leading up to that, are exceptionally done, and they also show struggle. I mean, like I understand what the listener's point is, but sometimes the best fight isn't a sum of all of the parts from previous fights.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I think, too, that a lot of these things that we're making examples of for these questions coming from Alabasta is because, like, Alabasta, I think the one thing that it does that not a lot of people are always able to kind of put into words is that there's really no, like, you don't feel like there's any wasted space in that arc. Like, everything kind of has its own perfect role in the story that he's telling. And so, like, when I think of Luffy versus Crocodile, it's like all of those stages happen at certain parts in the story where they're really meaningful to this part or that part. And, it ends up climaxing at just the right, moment where everything matters most. And it's hard to feel that same kind of purity of the plotting, the storytelling form with this fight, because it's taken place over such a long time and with so much other stuff that is unrelated to it happening, outside in the real world. Like, it doesn't, it's not as focused as that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at perfect example. Katakuri got introduced halfway through the arc.
Yeah, right. So sometimes it's hard to have it feel as meaningful when everything else doesn't click in perfectly around it.
He's an obstacle. He's not the head honcho.
Yeah, and I think we've seen like much more interesting stuff even in the Eneru fight. Like it's, I mean, it's all subjective stuff,
right?
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
I think this fight needs to conclude and time needs to pass before we could say. And also with the Eneru fight, they tie that in also with the ringing of the bell, so you got like a 2-for-1 deal.
But like as you said, Steve, with time, like arc needs to conclude, time needs to move forward. I mean, if this is the best fight in the series, that's great. It shows the series can get better. And we don't know what the last fights are going to look like, so they should be better than previous fights, ideally.
We shall see. So we'll move on to BF69 Nosebleed Machine, who says, what do you guys think of the theory that Zoro's sword teacher Koshiro is actually a samurai from Wano? It would explain his belief that men are more capable swordsmen than women, in parentheses, Kinemon's sexist spiel with Nami perhaps being characteristic of Wano culture.
Yeah.
And the entire conflict surrounding Zoro and Kuina's relationship. Not only that, it's already been hinted that Zoro's teacher was helping the revolutionaries back in East Blue. I can totally see an isolationist country separate from the world government like Wano, and a former samurai from there could have ties with Dragon and the Revolutionary Army. I also think since Sanji got more exploration of his backstory, that Zoro will get more as well when we get to Wano. And Zoro's ties to a former samurai to the setting is a great way to do that, perhaps also unraveling more of the revolutionaries' part in the story in the process.
I agree with this 110%.
Yeah.
I was ready to shoot this down, but now I kind of like it.
And Zoro has a lot missing from his backstory as well. I mean, if you think about it, we've only seen like a couple of days in his life, in his past.
Yeah.
Well, you could say that about most of the characters in the Straw Hats,
yeah, but like with the other, like with Nami and there's like a larger kind of like point to how she grew up. But Zoro's just like a wanderer, just like, I'm going to train in this dojo.
Well, you can't say that with, I mean, Brook you've seen a lot of, even though there's a lot you haven't. He's old, that's what I'm trying to say. Frankie, you've seen most of his, childhood. Luffy, you've at this point seen most of his childhood. Sanji, at this point, you've seen most of his childhood. Nami, and Robin.
So, I was thinking about this a little while ago. I was thinking about Robin and Nami's flashback and how much meatier they were versus like Zoro and Usopp. And I don't know if Zoro really needs anything else in regards to his past, to be honest, because everything that you need to know about Zoro, you find out in his flashback, which is like maybe half a chapter long.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else that we know about Zoro, he has exhibited through his actions as Luffy's first mate.
Yeah, but that's one of the things. I'll both agree with you, Alex, and also address the email or tweet. Is that like I agree with that. If anything, if Zoro turns out that he's some long lost prince, I'm going to call bullshit. I don't want any of that.
I would not enjoy that.
So if anything, the
Zoro's from Wano.
Yeah. So if anything, the connection should be through his teacher. Mm-hmm. That's fine. It's like he had an important teacher, which is why he learned like really critical lessons, like kind of like on the sly.
No, I like that. I like that idea a lot. And I was also thinking about how when you just said who said that Zoro's from Wano, like that's
I did.
Yeah, that's like that'd be super funny if the entire reason that he got to the East Blue in the first place is because of his terrible sense of direction.
Oh, that's true. I like that now, but I didn't. Like I was saying Zoro's from Wano as an example of something that's bad, but.
Like no, that is an example of something that's bad. But if we're tied into his character quirks and shit,
that's funny.
Well, like for a while, I always assumed that his instructor was a former pirate because his dojo symbol looks like two cutlasses crossed together.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I would have said all these same things about Sanji's background as well, and then we got this whole arc, so I really can't rule any of these ideas out as far as like Oda being like, oh, here's the grand backstory of Zoro, everything you always wanted to know but were too afraid to ask. It's I don't know, but I like this suggestion from this reader for sure.
Yeah. I definitely point out before, it's interesting how all the Straw Hats are orphaned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, if you bring Kushiro back into the story, you also bring Kuina back into the story, and Zoro possibly getting over it or exploring his feelings on the matter.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
That basically, certifies that Tashigi would have to play a part in the arc as well, which would be cool. Yeah, it would. All right, BTAD NYC says, I noticed back in chapter 890 that the shark submerge isn't attached to the left side of the Sunny anymore. Chapter 877 is the last time we see it when the crew blasts off with the shark submerge tied to the left side of the ship. After flipping through the chapters, I noticed the next time you see the left side is in 881, and the submerge appears to be missing then too. I know this is a small detail, but considering Brooke checked on the submerge before they left and haven't had a moment to pull it back into its docking, I wonder if this missing submerge is going to come into play. It's certainly possible that Oda just didn't want to draw that particular scene, but my theory is Pedro finds the submerge and brings it back to the Sunny since he knows how to pilot it after traveling with Brooke. Has anyone else noticed this yet? What are your thoughts?
Wow. I didn't notice that, but that's probably what's going to happen.
The only thing that would strike me as odd by that is like the crew themselves don't notice the submarines there.
I thought the submarine was hanging from the side when they took off.
It was,
Yes,
but
it
like
is.
he's saying, like next time we see him, they're grieving over Pedro, and the submarine's not there. I mean, you could say they probably pulled it in within that time, but that would feel kind of weird. It's like, oh, our friend just died, so
Or
we're
Oda
gonna,
just
like,
forgot.
pull in the submarine.
Oh, but I gotta
entirely
take care of
possible.
this real quick.
Like a little errand to run.
Oh, hey, there's your next cover story. Pedro returning the Stark submerged back to the Straw Hats.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Meeting Monet and
And Virgo.
Yeah. Hey guys, we're all back. They also had a follow-up question. I was wondering, how fluent is Steven in Japanese? I know he translates the manga, but reading and writing are certainly different skills from speaking. I'm assuming Greg is the most fluent in Japanese since he's been living in Japan for 10 years. This question is directed at Steven, but Zach, you can answer this too. Okay, Zach, you want to answer that, Zach?
Yeah, so Steven is obviously slightly more fluent now. I think he assumed I was reading this is where I assume my name.
Yeah. My listening is pretty much just fine. Like, you know, I can watch variety shows on TV where people are actually speaking fast and follow them just fine. I guess I would say that I could hold a conversation fairly evenly, except that because I don't actually speak it aloud, except on very odd occasions, like that my tongue, my mouth muscles would not be, so I would probably sound really bad, but at least in terms of keeping up with the pace of the conversation. But I should be mostly fine. But yeah, it's definitely the weakest part of my skill set in Japanese.
Greg has forgotten words in English, so I think his fluency in Japanese is pretty evident. To give him an answer there.
Yeah, I mean, they let him on TV, so that says something about his adequacy. Let's see. Negatron says, since the Winter Olympics are going on, what winter sport would the crew and other characters participate in? Okay, and then there's an unrelated question. So what winter sport?
Shit, I saw a piece of fan art about this once. I will look for this while you guys discuss this amongst yourselves.
Okay, so
who is going to do curling?
let's see. Who's good at sweeping the deck? Kobe would do curling.
Kobe and
or
Hamepo
Zoro
are on the team together.
Kobe and Hamepo, yep, they're the sweepers.
My first thought was that Frankie would do the luge, because he's going to be on his back, so that's covered up, and his front is armored.
That's
there
amazing.
You go.
That's
It'd be also great because he'd construct some like weird, like funky luge thing and just look like some like rhinoceros.
That's
Wait,
right. And
I know.
And to that, Brooke would also be doing skeleton.
Damn it! You beat my joke.
I just found out about that.
Yeah.
I want to see Usopp doing the luge and just have him screaming the whole way down.
Yeah.
Now, if Usopp was doing luge, his nose would interfere.
That's amazing.
No, Usopp would be doing the biathlon. He would be doing the biathlon, skiing and shooting.
That's true. Yeah, Usopp would be good at that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nami's definitely a figure skater. Let's just rip that Band-Aid off right now.
Or she'd be ice dancing with Sanji.
Sanji wishes that is how that was working. What would Sanji do? Yeah.
No, I think Sanji would definitely be a figure skater. I thought because of his fancy footwork.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Trafalgar Law is a snowboarder.
Stay home.
I mean, he looks like a snowboarder, but I don't feel like.
No, he doesn't. Have you seen Shaun White?
That's true. He doesn't look like it. Okay, I don't know. What do you want?
Frankie would be a snowboarder. Frankie would be a snowboarder.
Yeah, Frankie would actually be a legitimate. But
Frankie would become the snowboard.
But have you seen the snowboarding and the skiing, like the freestyle where they do the crazy tricks and everything? Frankie's too top heavy, I feel like, to do that kind of thing. Like,
he'd use that to his advantage. He'd become like a pendulum in the air.
I see like skis popping out of Frankie's feet, and he would just ski down the hill, like he'd do slalom.
Like Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that is Inspector Gadget. I just stole Inspector Gadget.
Well, Frankie has those tank treads. Like
that's true.
You can have ski.
Is that a winter sport though?
Snowmobiling.
What about
Zamboni, competitive Zamboni.
That is an awesome sport that should exist. Competitive.
Who would be on the bobsled team?
What we're forgetting about Chopper, who is a winter creature and should be winning all of these races and competitions, but I don't know
He'd
which
be like the cross-country skis. Like, I don't need the skis, guys. I'm just going to run through the snow.
Kind of defeats the purpose, but okay. Who else are we missing?
Robin.
Jinbei and Robin. There's no swimming in...
No swimming, Jinbei.
Yeah.
Jinbei is all sad.
And all the combat events.
They haven't made the polar bear challenge a Winter Olympic sport yet. So.
What other winter sports are we forgetting, I guess?
Be the people that look most like a hard-boiled egg competition.
What, white people?
He's right. We do look like hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah, I guess we all look like eggs to you, Brian.
Yes. Yes, actually.
We all have like yellow goo on the inside. I don't even know where I was going with that.
Oh, everyone's Baron Tomico.
All right, chickens, Brian.
That took a weird turn.
All right. Well, on the topic of food, Vince McVivi says, "Did you guys know it's Girl Scout cookie season? I'm upset because no one took my order this year. Now I have to stock all the Walmart parking lots for cookie stands, and almost all of the Thin Mints are sold out. Anyway, personal struggles aside, what would each Straw Hat's favorite cookie be, and who would sell the most cookies for their troop?"
Nami,
yeah.
Or Sanji.
Sanji sounds like a bad idea. I don't know. Nami would, yeah.
But what is each character?
Zoro, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. Zoro likes Thin Mints because he's so basic.
They match his hair. Oh wait, no, they're not green.
There we go.
Robin, I think I used this justification before, but Robin would definitely like Samoas because she's evil.
Ain't nothing evil about Samoas.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I found a piece of fan art. So when we have a break, I will discuss which events the Straw Hats are doing.
No, go for it right now.
Okay. Yeah. So this one was, I think the art was made right after Thriller Bark. So we've got Sanji on snowboard, Robin doing curling, Brooke doing Nordic ski jump. Let's see, Chopper in Brainpoint form doing speed skating. Usopp is doing figure skating in this awesome like glittery outfit. Frankie's playing
I need to see this thing.
Frankie's playing hockey with no pants, of course.
I mean,
Luffy is doing mogul.
I forgot Luffy.
Let's see now. Zoro is doing skeleton, and Nami's doing giant slalom. It's a pretty good piece. I'll send it to you.
Yeah. If you have the artist's name too, we could.
I do not have the artist's name. I'll dig around for it.
Okay. Yeah. I like the idea though still of Brooke, not only because of the pun of Brooke doing skeleton.
Oh yeah, of course.
But also because of Brooke, he would be yelling the entire time in his Brooke voice. Anyway.
Okay. But about cookies.
Oh, right. I forgot we were.
Yes, Girl Scout cookies.
Jinbei would be the newest addition to the Girl Scout cookie family, but a very delicious addition, the s'mores cookies.
Those are good.
What about, don't they have carrot cookies?
They have some more cookies? Damn.
Yeah, they're amazing. Carrot cookies. Ooh.
Well, Carrot would have the carrot cookies.
Guys want to trash Samoas, but then they're like, oh, let's eat cookies that taste like vegetables.
Steve, we're old, okay?
So
not me,
I like
man.
The shortbread ones. Talk about basic.
Hey, those are pretty good too.
They are. They're my favorite.
The peanut butter ones. Who would be
Tagalongs, yeah.
Oh no, well no, I'm thinking of the peanut butter ones.
Oh, yeah,
Tagalongs. Tagalongs. That's a wild card. That could be lots of people. Maybe Chopper, because Chopper like tags along.
Like Chopper would like the sweetest one. So what do you think is the
Tagalongs? Tagalongs
Yeah,
are pretty.
probably.
Yeah.
That's like eating candy right there.
Mm-hmm.
Nami would like the lemon creams. That's the closest to tangerines.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of classy.
I think Robin would be a Thin Mint person.
Mm.
I could see her.
Yeah, Robin's definitely Thin Mints. Oh no! What's that?
No,
the one
Robin-
that actually
Robin
looks
was
like the Girl Scout chick, the plain one.
Spoils.
Shortbread.
Yeah, the shortbread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Frankie
should
would be
move on.
Samoa's. Frankie would be Samoa's all the way.
All right. We'll move on. Chris Lafer, you're going to love this one, Zach. Chris Lafer says, listening to some of the older episodes, I realized that Zach lied to us. In episode...
I do that all the time, guys.
In the 700 Club episode,
Good job.
Zach said that he had reread One Piece many times, yet in the Great One Piece read-through, which happens much later, Zach said that he had not really read most of One Piece since he first went through it. Which is it, Zach?
Oh. Is this even Zach we're talking to right now?
What's it gonna be, Abe?
Lies. Deceptions.
So first off, 700, if you could believe it, was 200 chapters ago. So this was like 2012. I don't remember how many times I had read One Piece in 2012, but...
So why'd you lie?
Shut up.
He was trying to impress us.
I was trying to impress you, but what was likely, how I was putting it, to not to beat around the bush too much, but I probably had read parts of One Piece multiple times, but I don't know. I think the Great One Piece read through was the first time I read start to current. In one sitting.
All in one go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I might
Did
have...
Did you start watching it first and then later went back and start reading parts of it?
Yeah, I watched... that's how I originally saw it. I watched the anime.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how most
a lot of
us, I
people
think.
do that.
Yeah. Also on Crunchyroll.com and VRV. But I think I probably rewatched it multiple times and then read it for the first time, all the way through like that. But I don't remember. I definitely owned all the copies, so I probably did a physical read through before I did the digital one, which is how I did the great read through. Anyway, I'm gonna just think about this for another 20 minutes, and you can ask the next question.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. Samuel1698 has a very simple question: how tall is Snake Man Luffy? And I actually saw this before we started reading the chapter, so I was kind of thinking about it while we were reading, and I think even if you account for like foreshortening and Oda's crazy angles and stuff, I think you could definitely make a very strong case that Snake Man Luffy is significantly taller than regular Luffy. Because if you remember, I don't know if everybody here heard this, but the SBS spelled it out that Katakuri is 16 feet tall.
Yep. 16'8". I thought he was 16'8". It's almost 17.
That's dumb.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous. I kind of don't like that we're putting actual numbers on it.
Is that a little too midichlorian for you?
It's not. It's not midichlorian-y.
No, but like I saw like a height chart that somebody
put
up on Twitter,
Sam,
and Luffy was like this tiny speck that came up to like Katakuri's knee or something like that.
Yeah.
Luffy's like a normal height, right? He's like 5 foot something or 6 foot something.
Yeah, he's like 5'6", 5'5", maybe.
Or is he shorter
I
than
was
me?
still blown away that Son Goku is only 5'8". So
What?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's tiny.
Vegeta's really tiny. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Krillin. What is going on?
Vegeta's
there?
like the Wolverine of
Yeah.
Yeah.
DBZ.
Piccolo's only like 5'11", maybe 6 feet on the dot. He's not super tall.
Wow, Steve,
Really?
you were taller than the entire Dragon Ball cast.
He'd be like
sounds like-
16 walking around.
I've done it.
Producer Goku.
I don't even need to. I didn't have to work out like other people that got inspired by Dragon Ball. I just stayed the same.
Oh, I'm sorry. Goku is only 5'7". 5'7".
I'm
My
Goku's
dad's-
height?
Oh wow, my girlfriend is as tall as Goku.
Now I'm wondering if this is counting the hair or not.
No, you can't count hair.
I don't know, man. It's Dragon Ball hair. That
Why
kind
do you think Vegeta grew his hair so tall? He has to look more intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to have that.
I guess.
Compensating aside, it is not an accurate form of measurement.
Compensating for his height or his hairline.
Oh, correction, 5'6". Luffy is 5'6".
When he wants to ride on the roller coaster, he has to get his striped suit and his high boots.
Also, please factor in that everyone in Dragon Ball, like Dragon Ball Z, their torsos are super duper short.
And,
Yeah.
And also, I don't know if this is true, but I think the height in Japan, average height is lower than it is in the United States.
Yep.
I would say. Because the idea, I felt taller in Japan, and I am not tall by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, go ahead, Stephen.
All right. Prince of Assassins says, I was watching a YouTube segment of this series by this One Piece fan where his wife looks at pictures of One Piece characters and tries to guess their name and personality based on appearance alone. She looked at a picture of Blackbeard, identified him as Buffalo Bow, and guessed his power was darkness. But she brought up an idea about his powers I never even considered. The awkward thing about Buffalo Bow is he can make things really dark, but he can't see in it. So what other powers in One Piece wouldn't work as well without required secondary powers?
First of all,
so I guess...
What is this, a YouTube channel? Is this...
Yeah, there's a link to
to
the video,
that
which I have not watched. But
that is such an amazing concept.
Would you do Blackbeard? I'd do Blackbeard.
Oh, Buffalo
yeah,
Bill.
I totally do.
Buffalo Bow.
Bow.
Robo Bow.
Okay, I'm going to go to my new favorite restaurant, Buffalo Wild Bows.
we might have another contender.
No, we don't.
It's because Steve's gonna have to draw it if we do.
Buffalo Bow.
It's
So yes, unexpected drawbacks to One Piece powers. I guess
the channel, by the way, is Grand Line Review. I'll give a shout out there.
All right, guys. Here's one. I got one. You guys ready? Any power, but you can't swim.
I like where you're going here. I don't know. Brooke would smell real bad. Maybe after so much time, he's kind of purified. But
no,
it was pretty rough on that boat for a while.
We've already got one for Magellan.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, because he's poisoned. He's permanently poisoned.
And Crocodile's got sand in his vagina.
Wow.
That theory won't die.
Oh, right.
Oh, God. Yeah.
See what I did? It was a double reference there.
Right.
Yeah, see.
That's why he was able to go to the desert after his sex change.
Do they have to be negative consequences? Because like Ino had the heart resuscitation.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. So Bonnie, well, her power doesn't involve eating.
No, Bonnie's power is that she's everyone's mom / sister / actual person.
Her power of adjusting her age subjects her to lots of stupid fan theories.
Are you suggesting that Joe Bonnie's every woman? It's all in me.
Yeah.
She's a permanent guest on the Maury Povich show. You are the mother. You aren't the mother.
Not the mama.
And also a guest on Dinosaurs.
I'm not your mama.
And she's the reveal in Chinatown.
That's
man.
the Cowtown.
Oh God.
Yeah, Cowtown.
Okay. What's next?
All right. Last question from Black Northwind. As shallow as it is that Flampe's love for Katakuri turns to hate, it made me think about what Doflamingo said in chapter 725 in Momonosuke's flashback, that people, no matter their personality, all have a cruel side sleeping in them. My point is, while Big Mom and mostly the rest of Totoland's citizens have nothing against the other races that exist in this world, that doesn't mean people will simply overlook certain minor, unusual-looking people that live there, such as Pudding and Katakuri. If anything, It is the lack of communication and understanding with each other that the Big Mom Pirates has led to this point in the series. Interesting.
You guys, this is why you get paid the big podcast bucks.
If only.
Yeah. Well, hey, at least we're paid by a very trusty person who rereads One Piece all the time.
Oh my god, shut up. Jesus Christ.
Zach, what are your opinions about Volume 11?
When did you first read that? How many times have you read it?
I love Arlong Park.
Volume 11 is right after Logtown, right? That's the Laboon stuff, isn't it?
I want to know what
this guy knows his stuff.
He does, yeah.
Nope.
Oh, no. It is Logtown. Because 12's the last one of the East Blue, right?
Right.
I just remembered, yeah. Okay.
Oh, whoops.
Well, Zach, I want to know Zach's thoughts, everybody, on chapter 75. Specifically page 6 and 7.
Wait, just give me 1 minute. I don't have to type
75,
anything into my keyboard.
A banner number.
Wait, I just typed in chapter 75. I should probably add one.
It brings up Moby Dick.
Hold on. Just off the top of my head, is that the Great Adventure of Usopp the Man?
I don't know.
No, it's...
What do you think we are, nerds?
Why are you asking me?
It's called Sea Charts and Fishmen, obviously, and it's when...
Oh, it's like the sequel to Bedknobs and Broomstick.
It's when Luffy and Sanji arrive on Nami's home island, and then regroup with Zoro and Johnny, of Johnny and Yasuko, so whatever the fuck, I don't care.
Johnny
Steve,
Rocket?
What's the next segment, Steve?
Well, Zach, it's time for
Peace the Tweet. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. God, we're all failing in our normal roles on this show.
Said piece the tweet, and it wasn't you, Steve.
Eat the cheese. Yeah.
This is our new segment.
Pizza.
Okay. Nate, you're gonna be heading out right now, or you wanna?
Yep, I will be checking out for this. Thank you so much for having me, and have a great day, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Nate, for coming on the show. Nate. Do you have anything you want to promote, Nate, before you go?
Not at this time. You can follow me on Twitter at Nate Ming, NateMing, and it's a big mishmash of cool stuff.
Cool.
That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Great to have you, Nate.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, sorry we're a lot of people this week. Okay.
Oh, no, good. It was great.
Great.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Take care. Yeah.
Later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Now, let's continue with our best segment that Nate's missing. Let's go on with Piece the Tweet.
That segment's called Happy Feet. Yeah.
I hate you, Steve, so much.
That movie sucked.
Oh, what is our first piece together question? Piece the tweet
Our
question.
first one comes from @91Ryan. It says, it looks like Smoothie has a fruit that's opposite of the mini fruit from the anime, although she could juice things, so that doesn't make sense.
Maybe she's got the Ronco fruit.
The what?
Ronco, like Ronpo Peel, like all the as seen on TV stuff, like juicing. She not only can she juice, but she can also grow taller. And if you call her now, she can do a third thing.
What a deep cut that is.
Call now and we'll include 2 more smoothies for the price of 1. Cinnamon and Portia Mia.
Portia Mina? Citron.
I don't know. The juice thing was weird, but nothing was ever stated that was her power. It's One Piece. The world is weird.
I thought it did say that was her fruit ability. Was the juice?
Maybe that's her gloves fruit ability.
Oh God!
What? Yikes!
Actually,
no, if any,
not bad.
No, if anything, maybe the juicing is how she got big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard people say like maybe a sponge power.
She's been juicing. She's just bulked up.
Yeah. Do you even lift Smoothie?
Smoothie, you're disqualified.
Did we answer this question last week, or is that just my imagination?
We might have.
Olympic athletes from Totoland.
I don't know if you guys answered it in this way, but I just had a crackpot theory.
Here we go.
Maybe she's the daughter of a giant, and she has to take supplements in order to keep her at regular size. But never mind, that's dumb. I was just trying to.
I agree.
Yeah, never mind. Well, that's why it's a crackpot theory. Check out my YouTube channel, like and subscribe and shit.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to skip over these because Brian sent us one, and I could tell it's a reference to last week because.
Yeah, it starts. The first one is the one from Elver Gun.
No, read it. Read it all, Steve.
Did we read this last week?
Yeah, we did read this last week.
Pot
All right,
Brown.
never mind.
Ha 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 ha.
Oh.
This first one comes from B. Limulia. It says, try working on inner peace. Peace with a P-A-C-E. That's hashtag Tuesday Thoughts, and that's hashtag not related to this podcast.
Where's the wisdom, though?
Yeah, good words, yeah.
This first one is from Sniper of My Heart. It says, it seems like Luffy to predict the future, like Katakuri, he has to completely emotionally open and say everything on his mind. In other news, has anyone on the podcast seen the live action FMA yet? Thoughts?
Oh God.
Alex and I watched the first
10 minutes
or so.
I already don't like the direction in which it's headed, but I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. I don't know. I not judged it yet, but it looks very. When people want to talk about Uncanny Valley with CGI Grand Moff Tarkin, I'm talking Uncanny Valley, seeing all these people with blonde hair.
Yeah, but that's like wigs and stuff.
Yeah,
Now, let me tell you that this movie is probably going to be a great argument for why you shouldn't make a live-action anime movie, but perhaps a live-action TV series.
Mm-hmm. Maybe One Piece will be the one to break.
Don't count on it.
All right. I also want to mention Elver Gun had a zoom in on that last panel with the background kind of thing, that very last panel. And you can see a figure being cut through the wall, or flown through the wall there at the very end.
Maybe.
Now I have to go back and look at this.
Yeah, I need to also.
Sorry, it's a visual one, Zach.
No, it's okay. I just want to mention it because it's probably a note that it's we have 2 weeks before anything happens. And...
We should talk about the original point of this piece. The tweet was Luffy has to be emotionally open. So is he just gonna now just no filter, just whatever thoughts come out of any thoughts in his head just gonna come out now? I like boys now.
Way he is.
Oh no! I looked at it, and yes, he's hiding behind you can see what happens to Katakuri right behind the little bar that says One Piece will be off next week. God, thanks, Viz. You fucked it up.
That's amazing.
It would be funny if Luffy just starts admitting any of his thoughts.
Steve, Kendra also asked if you would do a FMA live action movie Patreon episode.
Was that asked?
Yeah, it's in the thread. So if you click show thread. That's how Twitter works now. It's very odd.
I mean, I guess Patreon means people pay for it, right? That'd be funny. I'd be up for that.
You can always bring back the FMA podcast.
Yes. Full Metal Podcast.
Full Metal Podcast. What's next?
For the two guys that were on it.
Yeah.
This next one comes from @GhostStarch. At the end of the arc, Mama will realize that Carmel is dead and the Straw Hats are closer to reaching Raftel than she is. This could make her leave Toto Land and attack Elbaf to force them to be her allies so she could crush the other Yonko. I don't know so much about the Elbaf portion, but I could see Big Mom leaving Toto Land to go after the One Piece. You guys?
I'm thinking. Still thinking. I don't know if she's gonna ever realize that Carmel that.
Oh, Mother Carmel's just sleeping, Big Mom. She's just sleeping.
Sleeping in your bed.
Well, she doesn't know what happened to Mother Carmel. She just thinks she disappeared. Right?
Disappeared.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
Yeah, and then somehow later got the exact same power she got.
Yeah, you think she could put two and two together. She's not dumb. I mean, that's the thing about Big Mom. Right now, she's, single-minded, but that's
I
different.
bet she still believes in Santa Claus.
No, that's what we've talked about this. I think it's just that's why whenever that she suppresses that memory, and then when it does get awakened, freak out.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I think that's her body's or her mind's reaction to like eating a bunch of orphans and her, foster mother. And, I think that's a relatively reasonable reaction for doing that. What's next?
Our next one is from @CrackerJaku.
No, we can't keep up. I fucked it up.
Could Kaido be the father to Katakuri, Daifuku, and Oven? Mama could have been one of the 7 defeats he suffered, and she was so impressed by his strength that she offered to use her soul powers to grant him death in exchange for impregnating her.
What?
But that would mean Kaido is dead.
Yeah, I don't think that works.
No.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's like, but you will promise to kill me, right? Yes, after the children are born.
Ha! I won't kill
I
you.
I didn't realize Big Mom was what is that the mating ritual of? Is it that like a praying mantis? Yes.
Big Mom.
Oh, Kaido. God, I thought you said could Katakuri be the father of Daifuku and Oven? I'm like, what? But they're brothers. They're triplets.
Where are the fathers, Big Mom? Where are the fathers?
Where are they at, String? They're like the Huey, Dewey, and Louie of One Piece. The Charlottes.
Yeah, all the colors are there. Blue, pink and black, and
orange.
And hot orange.
Electric orange.
We're
going by Crayola colors.
What's the last one we got?
Our last one is from @AnimeLover1491. Do you think that if Luffy just managed to knock Katakuri on his back, that he'll admit defeat rather than knocking him out for a win? Nah.
He's not a turtle.
But that would be help me.
All those times I was slightly
sort of
on my side. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like that sort of like gentlemanly fight has that kind of thing has passed, and this has turned into just an all-out brawl.
Yeah. I think we got rid of that with the Flampe stuff. That was the end of that. All right, that's going to do it for Piece Together. Thank you, Steve and Steven, for stepping up there, and also Alex for doing that.
That was me.
Yeah, that was Ed. What are you talking about?
That means Ed. Anyway.
It goes to Ed.
We're going to round off and do a little bit of trivia.
Ugh.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 507 for February 19th, 2018. Before we do some trivia, how could everyone out there contact you guys, Brian?
Yeah, you can find me as Dark King Zoro, all one word on Twitter. And you can also check me out on the Animation Success Stories podcast on YouTube, where we talk to other people in the industry, find out how they got in the industry, what inspired them, and, share some stories about working.
Joey?
Follow me on Twitter @JoeyWeiser or joeyweiser.tumblr.com for news about my comics work. My comic series Merman is all out now in hardcover, and almost all of it's out in softcover. Volume 4 is coming out this week, and it's all available digitally as well, so please take a look for that. And please listen to Toho Yaro, a Japanese movie podcast that I do with our friend Alex here and Scott Dryman, where, hey, you might not be into that manga adaptation of Full Metal Alchemist, but a manga adaptation that you might like is Blade of the Immortal, and we're going to be talking about that this month, so keep an eye out for that.
And remember, none are the wiser.
Steven.
Yes, you may follow me on Twitter @Translatosaurus.
Alex.
You can find me on Twitter @dude!, also on Instagram if you wish. And go to superartfight.com for our upcoming Super Art Fight shows. I can tell you that we've got one at AwesomeCon in DC next month, and a couple other shows coming up in DC, Baltimore in the next few months, so keep your eye on that. And I heard that a really great Twitter account to follow is Weeb Simpsons. I wouldn't know anything about who runs that, but I can tell you that it's a wonderful mishmash of anime and The Simpsons, and please follow it if you haven't already.
And Steve.
Well, you're at Zach_Logan. I'm at Steve Yurko on Twitter. Also, be sure to find me at Emerald City Comic Con at the beginning of March in Seattle, Washington. But you could find the podcast at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. Be sure to send in your piece together questions over at reddit.com/r/OnePiecePodcast, or check out our Discord channel, however the hell it is you find us on Discord. Just look up One Piece Podcast. Make sure to send us an email for your piece together questions at onepiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our Patreon, where we're uploading exclusive videos and episodes, bloopers, and sometimes some episodes might be going out a little bit early.
Next week's, for example.
Yes. So be sure to subscribe to us on patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Also, you can listen to us on SoundCloud, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. And be sure to call us at our Skype number, Zach.
That number is 347-497-MAGI.
Maji.
That phone number again is 347-497-6254.
Maji.
Call anytime.
Call anytime.
With your questions, your comments, and your Buffalo Wild pose.
It's my favorite kind of headphones.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is
Wild
great.
Bows Beats.
Really good episode today. Next week we're going to have Joey and Alex and Steve will be joining me to go through the entire Whole Cake Island arc. It's a lot of fun.
So far.
What?
So far.
So
far.
far.
No, the entire thing. It's done this week, isn't it? I thought we were done.
Read it all beforehand.
What an ending.
Manga chapter.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you can check that out. That's going to be next week. And on Patreon, it's going to be out this week. So make sure to check that out. Now, Alex, you haven't been on in a while. I don't know if you're used to our trivia game, which what we do is we go through a category and you have to name all the things in that category. We go in the order that you guys read the manga recap. Whoever either can't think of an answer, says a wrong answer, or says the same answer as someone else is eliminated. The last one in wins a free donut, as per Katakuri rules.
Donut.
Now, Alex, I'm going to
Yeah.
give you the opportunity here. I have 2 categories ready to go, but
Okay.
I'm only going to be asking about one of them. So pick a number, 1 or 4.
4.
Okay, you
I don't
picked.
know.
You picked Gear 4. Today we're going to go through all the different techniques Luffy knows in 4th gear.
What would be year 1?
1 is all of his techniques, period,
Oh.
pre-time skip.
Oh man, that sounds fun.
Would you rather do that one?
I mean, I think it.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of?
I guess that's true, but I feel like we have a lot more to pull from.
Yeah, let's do 1. It's fine. Alex, I was more that I wanted Alex to choose it since he hasn't been on in a while and hasn't had a chance to play, so it's fine. We're going to go in the order you guys read the chapter, so it will be Steve, Joey, Alex, Brian, and Steven, since Nate has abstained. Therefore, automatically losing. First, Steve. These are pre-time skip techniques for Luffy. Whenever you're ready.
Gum Gum Pistol?
Joey.
Gum axe.
Yeah. It has a yeah, that's fine. I'll take it.
I'm bad at this.
No, it's fine. You're good. Alex.
Gatling.
Yeah, I just have to find them. There's a lot. Sorry. Who are we up to? Brian.
Gum Gum Rifle.
Yeah, it's here somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely there.
He uses it in
He gets to
Skype.
know
Yeah.
what-
Steven.
Yep.
I know it. I just have to find it on my list. Steven.
Gum Gum Stomp or Stamp.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Steve.
Gum Gum Whip.
Yep. Joey.
Gum bazooka.
Yep. Alex.
Gum Gum Net.
Yeah, I'll take it. Finger net or net.
Yeah.
Where are we? Steven. Oh, Brian. Brian.
No. Gum Gum Shotgun.
Yeah. I don't know why I had it as pistol shotgun, but I guess that's how they labeled it. Steven?
Gum Gum Duh.
Yep. I like that. Space out, also acceptable.
There you go.
Steve?
Gum Gum Storm.
Good one. What the hell is that here? My favorite one, too. No, not Alex. Joey.
Your second.
No, that's pre-time skip regular techniques we're talking about.
What?
I'll make that so not like leveled up techniques, regular
Okay.
techniques. Yeah, if I didn't make that clear, I'm sorry.
Uh,
So nothing, no level up techniques.
let's see. What have we not said?
3
Gum
seconds.
gum. And then some sort of gun.
Okay. Joey, sorry, you have been eliminated. Alex.
Gum Gum Munch Munch.
I remember that. I know what you're referring to.
He uses
It's
it.
when you wobble.
With Wapple, yeah.
Well, he uses it against Crocodile.
Crocodile, you're right.
Oh, you're
sorry,
right, you're
my
right.
fault.
Yeah, I'm going to
Gum
take
Gum no
that.
Baku Baku.
It wasn't
yeah.
in it, but I know what you're referring to. Yeah. Where are we? Brian.
Gum Gum Robot Ally.
Yeah, I got that one here.
It's a
Ally
good one.
Robot. Yeah. Steven.
So
Gum Gum No Way or Gum Gum No
Yep.
You Can't.
Got it.
Yeah. Gomu Gomu no Dameda.
There's
Yeah.
some really more obvious ones here too that we haven't got into. Steve.
Gum Gum Bell?
Yep.
Yeah.
Joey, you're out. Alex.
Gum Gum Octopus.
Yep. Brian.
Gum Gum Flail.
Which one are you referring to?
It's when he swings his arm around like a
He
ball and
uses it
chain.
against Foxy.
I don't have
Yeah.
that exact term, but I know what you're talking about. All right, they may have just labeled it something different. Anyway, yeah, I'll accept that. Stephen.
I'm going to assume someone's already said this, but Gum Gum Hammer.
No one said that yet.
Nope.
Good
That
guess.
wasn't said.
Okay.
Steve.
Damn it, you took mine. Gum Gum Balloon.
Yep. There's a lot of really ones he uses often. I'll say that. Alex.
Gum Gum Golden Peony.
Ooh. That.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. That. When is that from?
He uses it
Skype,
against
yeah, you need to
Enter.
know.
Okay. Yeah.
Ogon Botan.
Yeah. I don't know why that wasn't there either. Good polls, guys. That you're beating the One Piece wiki. Brian. I guess not.
Gum Gum Whip.
That was. I think that was said already.
Yeah.
Did someone say that one? Oh crap.
No, you're out, Brian.
Gum Gum.
That's
No.
not how that works. That's not how that works.
I don't.
No, when
Blue,
you
no
guess
yellow.
the same one. Yeah, Steven. Sorry, Brian.
Gum Gum. Gum Gum Hungry. I don't know.
It's now just Steve and Alex
I'm
remaining.
just.
Steve.
So we can help each other out.
If no,
There's a few more. Right? There's
there's
few
a
more.
lot more. Yeah. Steve and Alex, one of you have to get it. Otherwise, we could keep going. So Steve.
So can it just be like a technique that he uses that involves his devil fruit, right?
It's Gum Gum Blank. 3 seconds. You're missing some really big ones.
I know.
That's it, Steve. Alex, if you could get this, you will win.
Gum Gum Bullet.
Yep. Alex is our winner in his first week. Good job. We were missing Gum Gum Rocket, Bowgun, Cannon, Spear,
Love Boat.
Scythe, Windmill, Shield, Bouquet, Buzzsaw, Fireworks, Rain, and Human Shield. Meanwhile, my Alexa app, for some reason, thinks I was talking to her and is talking about something. I don't know what.
You're also missing Golden Rifle.
Golden Rifle?
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I didn't do offshoots of most of the ones. I was looking for mostly, the main.
Did you say
techniques.
Gum Gum? Did you say Gum Gum Sight too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spear. There's a site. I didn't remember where it was from.
So, yeah, he uses that against
I should have just listed every weapon.
Ogama. He uses that against I think
Don Creek's
Don
crew,
Creek's
if I
men.
recall.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll do it. Maybe next time we'll do some Gear 4. Or, not next time. At some point in the future, we'll do Gear 4.
That's fun. I like this
yeah.
segment.
Yeah, this is my favorite. This is one of my favorite new things that we do. So until next week, we will see you for One Piece Whole Cake Island roundup, and then the week after that, we'll see you for Chapter 896. Until then, my name is Zach.
My name is Steve.
And my name is Alex.
We'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Toodles.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye, Cosmos.
went to go to my new favorite restaurant, Buffalo Wild Bows.